I want you to just imagine this for a second. It is the winter of 1846. You are way up high in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and you're just miles, literally miles, from your final destination in California. But you're trapped. Completely buried in snow, there's no food, you're freezing, and you are watching your family starve. I mean, this was the horrifying reality for a group of American pioneers.
This right here, this is an actual entry from the diary of a survivor, a man named Patrick Breen. It just captures the absolute rock bottom of their desperation. The unthinkable had literally become a potential plan for dinner, and he writes, "It is distressing." I mean, talk about the understatement of the century.
So how did a hopeful journey for a better life end up in this absolute nightmare of starvation and, yes, cannibalism? Well, to understand that, we have to go all the way back to the beginning.
We're going to rewind the clock and really uncover the whole chain of decisions and just plain bad luck that led to one of the most infamous tragedies in the history of America's westward expansion. This is the story of the Donner Party.
It all started back in the spring of 1846. And the mood, well, it wasn't one of dread at all. It was one of incredible optimism. For them, this was the start of a huge, amazing adventure.
So in the 1840s, America was just gripped by this idea of manifest destiny, this belief that they were, destined to settle the whole continent from coast to coast. For thousands of people, California was the promised land. It offered brand new economic opportunities, a fresh start, and yeah, the trip from Independence, Missouri was long, it'd take 4 to 6 months, but the reward, it seemed totally worth the risk.
And listen, the Donner Party wasn't some group of reckless young guys looking for trouble. No, these were families. We're talking farmers, businessmen, mothers, fathers, and dozens of kids. The leaders, George Donner and James Reed, they were actually pretty well-off, respected men from Illinois. They were just hoping to build even better lives for their families out on the West Coast.
This quote from Tamsin Donner, it's just heartbreaking to read now. She's writing this letter home just a month into the journey, and she truly believed the hardest part was already over. The tragic irony in that statement is just, it's almost unbearable, because their real troubles were about to begin with one single terrible decision.
Okay, this is it. This is the moment where everything changes. It's the pivot point where a calculated risk just spirals into a catastrophic mistake.
So at a trading post in Wyoming, the party is presented with a choice. There's this guy, Lansford Hastings, who had written a popular guidebook, and in it, he promoted a brand new route, a supposed shortcut that he claimed could shave weeks off their travel time. Now, for a group that was already running a little behind schedule, that offer was incredibly tempting. And this map really shows you what they were looking at. That purple line, that's the established California Trail. Sure, it's longer, but it's traveled, it's proven, it's safe. That orange line, though, that's the Hastings Cutoff. On a map, yeah, it looks way more direct. But what the map doesn't show you is that it plunges through the punishing Wasatch Mountains and right across the Great Salt Lake Desert, terrain that Hastings himself had barely even seen. And here's the crazy part. They were warned. An old friend of James Reed's had just come from California, and he told him, flat out, do not take the cutoff. He said wagons just couldn't make it through. But Hastings' promises of a faster journey won out over that sound advice.
So on July 31st, they turned their wagons south. They left the main trail, and they were completely on their own. And the consequences of that decision were immediate and just brutal. The promised shortcut, well, it turned into an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, that dream of a beautiful journey west, it crashed headfirst into the harsh reality of the Hastings Cutoff. Instead of a clear trail, they were faced with impassable canyons and mountains so rugged they literally had to hack their own road through the wilderness, which slowed their pace down to a crawl.
It just became a cascade of failures. The Wasatch Mountains, that was supposed to take a week. It took them a month. Then came the Great Salt Lake Desert, an 80-mile wasteland that took 6 brutal days and nights, not the 2 they were promised. By the time they finally stumbled back onto the main trail, their shortcut had put them a full month behind schedule. Things got so tense that James Reed actually killed another man in a dispute and was banished from the party, forced to leave his own family behind. And in that desert, nearly 100 of their oxen and cattle, their transportation and their food supply, either bolted looking for water or just collapsed and died from exhaustion. Their supplies were almost gone, their animals were dead, and winter was coming.
So now, exhausted and with barely anything left, their journey becomes this desperate race against the first snows of winter.
Everything came down to this. One final, massive obstacle stood between them and the safety of California, the Sierra Nevada mountains.
They were so close, you can't even imagine. This pass right here, later named Donner Pass, this was the last hurdle. But the party was exhausted, they were broken, and they were dangerously late in the season.
And then, the trap sprung. An early winter storm just dumped 5 feet of snow, blocking the pass completely. Their race against winter was over. They had lost.
So this map shows you where they were forced to stop and make their winter camps, at Truckee Lake and nearby Alder Creek. They were just a few miles from the summit, but it might as well have been 1,000 miles. Their journey was over for the winter, but their real ordeal was just beginning.
What happened over the next 4 months is truly the stuff of nightmares. It's a grim testament to the absolute limits of human endurance.
Okay, so in mid-December, a group of 17 of the strongest men, women, and even children set out on these crude snowshoes to try and cross the pass to get help. They actually called themselves the Forlorn Hope. With only 6 days of rations, they almost immediately got lost in a blizzard. As people started to die from starvation and the cold, the survivors made the horrific choice to eat the bodies of the dead just to stay alive. After 33 agonizing days, only 7 of them managed to stumble into a settlement in California, finally able to send rescuers back for everyone else.
By the time the very last survivor was rescued in April of 1847, nearly half of the entire party was dead. Out of the 87 people who took that fateful Hastings Cutoff, only 48 survived. It's a story of terrible luck and even worse decisions. But it really leaves you with a question, doesn't it? When you're faced with that impossible choice between certain death and an unspeakable act, what are any of us truly capable of in the name of survival?